you can reinvent yourself every day in martial arts, right? It's always a new challenge. If you're willing to empty your cup, you can always reinvent yourself and find something new, right? It's something that it's something of value that you can always pass back.
Hello, welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. My name is James Cox. I have a special guest with me today. Are you South Carolina?
North Carolina, Charlotte.
North Carolina. Man, I don't know why I can't split him. Half the time I say McDaniel. I don't say he's in North Carolina, South Carolina.
That's because he's the
kind
man.
of the same. He's the man.
Yeah, he's a blanket, man.
Okay, he's got all of that area. But we are in town, man. I'm taking advantage. I told these guys I'm taking advantage of them a little bit. So, when we have a special training seminar, and I got masters and grandmasters, lifelong martial artists like Mr. Henderson here coming to our academy, it's an honor. It's a privilege, not only that we can all learn from each other, that we can collaborate. Let's start off. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey, your experiences, and some things you're the most passionate about. And again, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you having me. But I started in about 1991, so I was about 11 years old when I started. And it's on the west side of Charlotte, which is one of the, if not the most, it's a serious side of town, right? So you had to be able to do something, right?
Had to be tough.
You had to be tough, right? Because when we were younger in the 90s, of course, you were a little bit more independent. Saturday morning gets here, and you jump outside and you're gone all day, right? So mom and dad were more so like, hey, we need some structure there. You did what you did with your friends and wrestle around, things like that, but it was nothing like having the structure, and that's what really drove me. So I started around 90, 91, myself, my father, my brother, we all started together at West Charlotte Recreation Center, and here we are. But for the most part, just like most kids, we did the tournament thing. We weren't really big on tournaments because our system is really a street self-defense system. So, we went to tournaments just so that we can see and calibrate and see exactly how we fared against those that are, same rank, size, height, weight, and different things like that. But for the most part, we were really training for every day. So we're really, character building and, working on those things. So that's how I got started. And really, martial arts carried me through, junior high school as an athlete, as a student. It really programmed me to, to excel in places. And one thing that I noticed is that prior to me starting and training in martial arts, I would fight almost every day. I would fight almost every day, getting on the school bus, off the school bus, going to the rec center on the way home. Started training, and I realized I'm not getting into as many fights, and it has absolutely nothing to do with my skill set. It's just that I'm aware now where I should be, where I shouldn't be, when I see this guy coming, maybe I should go the other way now, things like that. So as a kid, that really, it set in on me. I'm like,
You're like, this has a value. This has kind of helped me, right?
Early. I found the value in it very early,
And you could fight better, but you didn't feel the need, and you were smarter to maybe avoid situations.
Absolutely.
And had confidence.
Absolutely, a whole lot more confidence, right? So that was one thing that drew me and kept me, really. And I attribute a lot of my success as an athlete, to my martial arts training, early martial arts training. I went to college, ran track and played football. So I was a dual scholarship on scholarship NCAA.
Nice.
And I attribute all of that to martial arts, really.
The work ethic.
Yeah, absolutely. Work ethic, understanding that nothing's going to be given to you. You have to get out there and work for it every day. Every day is a new day, so you got to show up every day. What have you done for me lately, right? And you got to get out there and grind. So that's just been my mentality my entire life, and that's just how I go.
That's good, man. That's what makes success and a good man, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, going through that. Yeah.
I would think so.
I heard, how we get to a point where, in the martial arts at least, it would be nice where you don't feel you have a need to have to prove yourself to other people. And that's the confidence, so that you can stand up and show that. And, what's the difference in a street fighter and a martial artist? Because they're both punching and kicking and hitting at times, right? Well, morals, ethics, right? And that real confidence. There's a lot of people that fight that are not very confident.
Right, you can tell right away. But another thing is it's good decision making, man. That's what life is about, making good decisions.
Yeah, there's those consequences of doing things like that. Man.
Absolutely.
you could have wound up in a whole lot of places, right?
You sure could have, especially on the west side of Charlotte. There's a lot of places for you over there.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're doing the good things with teaching and continuing to pass it on and helping other people all the time, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah.
passion of mine. I wanted, when I was done with college, I knew I had to go and teach. I knew I was going to go and teach, and that was one of my passions. I had to go and do it. I just felt like it was an obligation, right? So I stuck to it. I said, hey, I'm going to get this thing done, and I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to grind it out and make sure that I can leave some of the same imprints on, kids and adults that were left on me, right? So I'm just passing it down and paying it forward.
Yeah. And you connected with my instructor, Patrick McDaniel, and I can see and hear things why there's that connection, that attraction with you and him. I can tell, and a lot of it is that deeper purpose and why and the reason with the things. Yeah,
Absolutely. Connecting with Professor McDaniel was like one of those things where I met him at a tournament. It's like I believe I was working on my second school at this time. First school didn't do too well, so I'm back out, tournaments, and I think I bumped into him by accident. And it was more so like an excuse me, I apologize. And the embrace from that point forward, I was like, wait a minute, I have to know who that is, right?
Yeah.
And I made sure I knew who he was.
Yeah, there's
right?
energy, a charisma.
Yeah.
It's attracting, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just getting to know him, I listen to a lot of the stories that he tells me, and it reminds me of how I was trained when I was a kid, right? Things that he had to do. It was just not too long ago, went over to Stevenson Park, I believe it is. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
He showed me where they did the break falls.
Yeah.
On the,
Woodson Recreation Center.
Yeah. And I remember, our instructor, like I said, we started at a recreation center. And, days when we would get to the recreation center and it's not open on time, we would start right back there on the basketball court. We would start with everything. And our systems, of course, they're heavy with break falls and Malloys and Ukimis and things like that. That's just what we did. And as kids, we were so competitive that if I see someone do it real simple, I'm going to try and do it myself. So we leave up out of there bloody before the classes even started because we were sitting on the pavement throwing each other around and rolling around. So, we really connect on a different level. It's just like, it's just a different level of connection that I had with him.
Yeah. So what do you see, what's best about martial arts? And then maybe on the opposite, what do you see is not the good things? What's the best and the worst things about this?
To me, the best things about martial arts is one thing is that, it's a, you can reinvent yourself every day in martial arts, right? It's always a new challenge. If you're willing to empty your cup, you can always reinvent yourself and find something new, right? It's something that it's something of value that you can always pass pass along. That's a great thing about it. But outside of just the character building and the courtesy, the honor, the integrity, perseverance, things like that, this is something that not only physically but mentally challenges you and keeps you young. It's like a fountain of youth if you do it right.
You're right.
You know what I mean? If you do it correctly. And then of course the flip side of that is, for some folks don't take it as serious, and some folks take it, for granted, right? And they don't always do the right things with it like they should, and what I mean by that is not necessarily going out and harming anyone, but maybe taking advantage of, folks who are vulnerable, different things like that, and not really teaching to the capacity that they should. So to me, that's something that I feel like is definitely a downside to the martial arts at time when we talk about business, right? But when we're talking about the physical and the mental aspect of it, it's a gift that keeps on giving to me.
You're right. Yeah, for sure, man. I had to learn, and I don't know where I missed this message. I know my instructor taught me better, but I had to learn that I wasn't a martial art, that I was a martial artist, right? I really felt that I thought for a while I was Kajukembo, I was a style, and was so attached to that, right? But then I started learning lots of other martial arts styles, and then that's why, I like Krav Maga too. I like Muay Thai, I like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, blah, blah, whatever. So then that kind of helped me finally understand that it's the creative individual, it's the single person. And, we talk about, the belt doesn't make you, you make the belt.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So and those are just lessons,
right.
always lessons in this stuff that
yes,
we do,
sir.
right? It's the good and the bad that has to come along with what we have there. I mean, what's your thoughts on all of that? And You know, just in general, like the things that are not as good in the martial arts, and what can we do to change it?
Really, I feel like if we can, we're always evolving. So if we have the ability to pivot, if we have the ability to step back and say, okay, even from a learning perspective, maybe this person or that person doesn't learn the same way. Try to get a deeper understanding of how they do it, right? And like realistically apply it sometimes, right? I think we can take a step back. From most folks who were training in the 90s and before, you can kind of be, stuck in your ways, right?
Too traditional.
Too traditional,
Yeah.
even though your system's not necessarily a traditional system if it's mixed, right?
Yeah, right.
So, as far as the traditional ways of doing things, but being a little bit more open to everyone's perspective, and taking those perspectives and actually testing them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just shutting things down because it doesn't work the way you think it will work, or it kind of goes against what you may believe how things should go. With regards to maybe the politics in it, I feel like if we can come together more often, unify a little bit more often, we can work our way through some of those valleys there. The martial arts community is big, but it's small at the same time, right? I feel like more of us we'll see something that we don't quite like, and instead of questioning and saying, hey, why is it that way, we run away from it. And I feel like if we run to it, to address it, talk about it, then things will be a little bit better there too.
Yeah, I know you're right. I hear you saying we could be too stuck on a certain way and thinking that that's the only way, and not open up our mind for new or even better things. That's that closed-mindedness, right?
Right.
Yeah, and try it. You might like that dish if you try it out.
Absolutely.
Right? Become your favorite.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We all start with the end in mind of what's the outcome, what's the benefits and the value of what we're going to get from what we put in it, man. Yeah. Well, what else you got going on? I mean, what's happening, and what's your future goals?
Well, for me, I'm just building, business building, making sure that, I'm doing as much as I possibly can the correct way. So for me, it's really continue to build my school, continue to collaborate with, different martial artists, get as much tutelage as I can, especially from Professor McDaniel. He's taking me under his wing, and he always dishes me out something to think about and to work on. So keeping him close as I continue building my school. And what we've actually done is decided, hey, we're going to come together. We'll be one big family,
Nice.
and expose my students to a lot of the ways that he teaches, because I love the way he does it. And also, opportunities that I have that come up and may arise as well, I include him with. Because I work in more than just the martial arts industry. I work in the handgun safety industry. I teach concealed carry, combatives. So, all those things, as it pertains to self-defense, women's self-defense, even combatives is something that I'm looking to bring under one roof. And each person, especially Professor McDaniel, someone that I'm going to bring in to get, input on how, we should navigate. So that's what we're doing at Legacy Martial Arts and Fitness. We're trying to make it, we're going to keep it, more so a realistic self-defense system that we have, but we want to take, every aspect of what's going on in the real world and apply it so that, kids, adults, everyone understand, practically how these things work, making smart decisions, putting yourself around the right people, and when you have the ability to, continue to grow and, of course, pay it forward.
Yeah, right. Man, that's awesome, dude. Well, yeah, you got to have a coach. Everybody needs a mentor, right? And then you got that teamwork and that strength in numbers. So you're in good hands, and I'm sure you guys are going to do great things. And it's also scratching each other's backs, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Well, Mr. Henderson, man, I appreciate having you on and here at my karate school to train with us, and the energy and the things that you're going to add as well is all a good asset. So good luck with everything. Continue, and we'll talk soon.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. All right, man. Absolutely. We'll do it again. Well, thank you, sir. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Check out our YouTube page, James Cox Martial Arts. Thanks.